make the sacrifice of fear. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. Here's the only sacrifice you ask of your beloved Son. You ask Him to give up all suffering, all sense of loss and sadness, all anxiety and doubt, and freely let your love come streaming into His awareness, healing Him of pain and giving Him your own eternal joy. Such is the sacrifice, in quotes, because there is no sacrifice. Such is the sacrifice you ask of Him, and one I gladly make. The only, in quotes, cost of restoration of your memory to me for the salvation of the world. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. And as we pay the debt we owe to truth, a debt which merely is the letting go of self-deception, a debt which merely is the letting go of self-deceptions and images we worshipped falsely, truth returns to us in wholeness and in joy. We are deceived no longer. Love has now returned to our awareness, and we are at peace again, for fear has gone, and only love remains. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. 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 Well, hello. Thank you all for joining me in studying A Course in Miracles workbook for students and the text. Well, the manual for teachers now. Here on November the 19th of 22, lesson 323 from the original edition. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and well, we've read our lesson, so let's go look at our text. We'll come back to this one again before we, but you know what? There's one sacrifice that we all need to make, and it's the sacrifice, if we can call it that, of fear. The only cost, how's he say it? The only cost that we have, such is the sacrifice you ask of me, and one I gladly make, the only cost of restoration of my memory to me for the salvation of the world. Let's read the prayer again. Here is the only sacrifice you ask of your beloved Son. You ask Him to give up all suffering, all sense of loss and sadness, all anxiety and doubt, and freely let your love come streaming into His awareness, healing Him of pain and giving Him your own eternal joy. Such is the sacrifice you ask of me, and one I gladly make, the only cost of restoration of your memory to me for the salvation of the world. And as we pay the debt we owe to truth, a debt which merely is the letting go of self-deception, the debt which merely is the letting go of self-deceptions, and of images we worshipped falsely, truth returns to us in wholeness and in joy. We are deceived no longer. Love has now returned to our awareness, and we are at peace again. For fear has gone and only love remains. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. Okay, let's go take a look in our manual for teachers, reading What Are the Characteristics of God's Teachers? Section 4. The surface traits of God's teachers are not all alike. They do not look alike to the body's eyes. They come from vastly different backgrounds. Their experiences of the world vary greatly, and their superficial personalities are quite distinct. Nor at the beginning stages of their functioning as teachers of God have they as yet acquired the deeper characteristics that will establish them as what they are. God gives special gifts to His teachers because they have a special role in His plan for atonement. Their specialness is, of course, only temporary, set in time as a means of leading out of time. These special gifts, born in the holy relationship toward which the teaching-learning situation is geared, become characteristic of all teachers of God who have advanced in their own learning. In this respect, they are all alike. All differences among the sons of God are temporary. Nevertheless, in time, it can be said that the advanced teachers of God have the following characteristics. And those characteristics, the first one, I think we're going to be 9 of them. The first one is going to be trust. We're going to read about trust and honesty today. Trust. And I just love this progression. There's 6 points in the development of trust. Trust. This is the foundation on which their ability to fulfill their function rests. Perception is the result of learning. In fact, perception is learning because cause and effect are never separated. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It is governed by a power, capital P. They are governed by a power which is in them but not of them. It is this power that keeps all things safe. It is through this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. Paragraph 4. When this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength again. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? 5. Well, first, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. So this will be our first. We're going to have 6 steps in the development of trust, and this first one is a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He's not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage of trust, that all these changes are always helpful. Paragraph 6, the second section in the development of trust. Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult because having learned that the changes in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most, of the things he valued before will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. Because he has valued what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusion. The word value can apply to nothing else. When I looked at that sentence there where it says it takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful, this is what we want to learn in this period of sorting out. That everything that happens to us is always helpful. You know, when my wife died in 1992, I had posted in all the newspapers this lifetime verse of mine and hers, Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. And you could stop it right there. The sentence goes on, all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Well, all things work together for good, period. Because we're all called by God. Are we listening to the answer? Anyway, that's Romans 8:28. It was such a wonderful passage. It was before I got into Course in Miracles, but I realized, well, the Holy Spirit's the one leading. He just brought the course because I was ready for it. The Bible brought me a certain distance, and the course has taken me a certain distance. And the Holy Spirit's the one that does all the teaching, though, isn't He? Paragraph 7, which is the third step in the development of trust. The third stage through which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Okay, so this period of relinquishment, if this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. The third step is rarely, if ever, begun until the second is complete. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interests on behalf of truth. He has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds happy lightheartedness instead. Where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him. That happy lightheartedness and the gifts that God gives us, who wouldn't want to give up all that he holds? And that's what our lesson is about today. I gladly make the sacrifice, in quotes, of fear. Paragraph 8, which will be the fourth stage in the development of trust. Now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering. And the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. That's his whole way out. How simple is the obvious and how easy to do. The teacher of God needs this period of respite. He has not yet come as far as he thinks, yet when he is ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone. I've always taken that to be that the unseen world opens up and you see all this mighty host of heaven that's right beside you, leading the way and guiding you and protecting you, and caring for you. Paragraph 9, which is the fifth stage. The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All that he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless and that he did want the valuable. Yet his own sorting out was meaningless in teaching him the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. He thought he had learned willingness, but now he sees that he does not know what the willingness is for. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible for a long, long time. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Something that may be difficult for us to practice for quite a while, but we keep trying. But he must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in this direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed. And paragraph 10, which is the last of the 6 points of the development of trust. And finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains to be counted on in all, in quotes, emergencies, as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is their result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace. For here is heaven's state fully reflected. For here the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this? So those 6 steps. First one is the period of undoing. The second one, in development of trust. The second one is a period of sorting out. The third one, the period of relinquishment. Fourth, the period of settling down. 5, the period of unsettling. And lastly, number 6, the period of achievement of trust. And then honesty is our next characteristic of the teacher of God. Just all other traits of God's teachers rest on trust. Once that has been achieved, the others cannot fail to follow. Only the trusting can afford honesty, for only they can see its value. Honesty does not apply only to what you say. The term actually means consistency. There is nothing you say that contradicts what you think or do. No thought opposes any other thought. No act belies your word. And no word lacks agreement with another. Such are the truly honest. At no level are they in conflict with themselves. Therefore, it is impossible for them to be in conflict with anyone or anything. And the last paragraph, 12. The peace of mind which the advanced teachers of God experience is largely due to their perfect honesty. The peace of mind which the advanced teachers of God experience is largely due to their perfect honesty. It is only the wish to deceive that makes for war. No one at one with himself can even conceive of conflict. Conflict is the inevitable result of self-deception, and self-deception is dishonesty. There is no challenge to a teacher of God. Challenge implies doubt, and the trust on which God's teachers rest secure makes doubt impossible. Therefore, they can only succeed. In this, as in all things, they are honest. They can only succeed because they never do their will alone. They choose for all mankind, for all the world, and all things in it, for the unchanging and unchangeable beyond appearances, and for the Son of God and His Creator. How could they not succeed? They choose in perfect honesty, sure of their choice themselves. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's go take a look now at in our plant. Before we read I gladly make the sacrifice of fear again, and what is creation, the associated reading. Let me tell you about another blueberry out of ediblelandscaping.com. And this is the Star Southern Highbush blueberry. Star is a southern highbush blueberry introduced in 1996 from University of Florida. Height 6 to 10 feet. 10 feet in the deep south. Very large fruit with an attractive calyx resembling a star. Excellent quality and very adaptable to soil types. Our sweetest blueberry. Resistant to root and leaf diseases and Botryosphaeria stem blight. Space 6-foot circles, and it's zone 7 to 9. So you brothers and sisters that are a little bit south of me would probably do better growing this one. If you grow it here in my region of the Ozarks, zone 6, you'd want it in a pretty protected location like we talked about yesterday's O'Neill Southern Highbush blueberry. It's also, well, no, it's zone 5 through 9. Which one was it? It was the Climax Southern blueberry was also a 7 through 9. Okay, but today's is the Star Southern Highbush blueberry, and I think I wrote down. Oh, it's a Vaccinium corymbosum cross, the Star Southern Highbush blueberry. All right, let us take a look now at what is creation, which is the associated reading with I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. Creation is the sum of all God's thoughts, in number infinite and everywhere, without all limit. Only love creates, and only like itself. There was no time when all that it created was not there, nor will there be a time when anything that it created suffers any change. Forever and forever are God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is done. God's thoughts are given all the power that their own Creator has, for He would add to love by its extension. Thus His Son shares in creation and must therefore share in power to create. What God has willed to be forever one will still be one when time is over and will not be changed throughout the course of time, remaining as it was before the thought of time began. Creation is the opposite of all illusions, for creation is the truth. Creation is the Holy Son of God, for in creation is His will complete in every aspect, making every part container of the whole. Its oneness is forever guaranteed inviolate, forever held within His holy will beyond all possibility of harm, of separation, imperfection, and any spot upon its sinlessness. We are creation, we the sons of God. We seem to be discreet and unaware of our eternal unity with Him, yet back of all our thoughts, past all our fears, there still is certainty, for love remains with all its thoughts, its sureness being theirs. God's memory is in our holy minds, which know their oneness and their unity with their Creator. Let our function be only to let this memory return, only to let God's will be done on earth, only to be restored to sanity, and to be but as God created us. Our Father calls to us. We hear His voice, and we forgive creation in the name of its Creator, holiness itself, whose holiness his own creation shares, whose holiness is still a part of us. All right, well, you know, I really thank you all for joining me on this journey of studying A Course in Miracles and letting Jesus do most of the talking. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. Be sure to do your extended morning and evening quiet time with this thought, going into the wordless silence, with this thought as a kind of a guardrail to hold you in a space. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. And then be sure to do your hourly remembrance and thanksgiving throughout the day. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. Here is the only sacrifice you ask of your beloved Son. You ask Him to give up all suffering, all sense of loss and sadness, all anxiety and doubt, and freely let your love come streaming into His awareness, healing him of pain and giving him your own eternal joy. Such is the sacrifice you ask of me, and one I gladly make, the only cost of restoration of your memory to me for the salvation of the world. And as we pay the debt we owe to truth, a debt which merely is the letting go of self-deception and of images we worship falsely, truth returns to us in wholeness and in joy. And as we pay the debt we owe to truth, a debt which merely is the letting go of self-deception and of images we worshipped falsely, truth returns to us in wholeness and in joy. We are deceived no longer. Love has now returned to our awareness, and we are at peace again, for fear has gone, and only love remains. Wow, isn't that beautiful? Let's see if I can get something to hold my little card down. I kind of make up these songs, you know, as I go along, so I kind of need to look at my chords sometimes. I gladly make the sacrifice of fear. 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 I gladly make the sacrifice of fear.